are looking at how to change the weather on purpose. That's right. Lasers now could one day manipulate rain and lightning. CBS This Morning contributor Michio Kaku is a physics professor at City College of New York. Professor, nice to see you. Extraordinary seeing Al Gore and Bill Clinton there together with Charlie, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, they did not get into this discussion, though. But it is fascinating. I mean, lasers, really, to change the weather?
That's right. Well, as Mark Twain once famously said, everyone complains about the weather, but no one ever does anything about it. Well, instead of doing a rain dance, we physicists are firing trillion-watt lasers into the sky to actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts. This is potentially a game changer.
But this is experimental.
It's experimental. However, in the laboratory so far it works. When you have water vapor and you have dust particles or ice crystals, you can precipitate rain. It condenses around the seeds. These seeds can also be created by laser beams. By firing trillion-watt lasers, you rip apart the electrons, creating what are called ions, and these ions act like seeds, like dust particles, bringing down rain and even lightning.
Go ahead.
Well, this fascinates me in part because, too, I remember reading the stories that China had used this during the Olympics, that the USSR had used this after Chernobyl to create rain clouds. I mean, did those really work then? We have some of these capabilities now?
Inconclusive. Even in the 60s, the CIA used this to bring down monsoons during the Vietnam War, to wash out the Viet Cong. Governments have been playing with this thing.
Alleged to.
Alleged to, right.
Yeah.
Now, we realize that for decades now, these governments have been alleged to have experimented with weather control, but nothing conclusive. This time we're bringing in the laws of physics rather than simply waving our hands and uttering mumbo jumbo. We're actually using trillion-watt lasers now. And in the laboratory, sure enough, they precipitate rain out of water vapor. Sure enough, you can actually bring down electricity down the beam.
So what does it mean for drought areas that need to have rain for crops, and if they don't have them, there's the consequences of famine?
Well, the bad news is if it's a clear blue sky, it's not going to do anything at all, because it only takes water vapor that's already in the air and condenses it. However, for floods, for agriculture, farmers, for people planning wedding parties, football games, you name it, outdoor events and agriculture and flooding and even hurricanes, all of them could be subject to weather modification.
Incredibly interesting. Professor Michio Kaku, thank you so much.
Hey everybody, Dutch Sense here, 9:44 p.m. Central Time on Wednesday, September 25th, 2013. And I want to thank Tattooed1009 for putting this out. This video here with Michio Kaku, put out by CBS News. This is profound, guys. This is something that I think everybody needs to hear. They have basically now admitted that high-frequency pulses produce rain. Michio Kaku, in this video that you just watched, said using trillion-watt lasers, they're able to strip electrons from the atmosphere, which act like dust particles, CCN, cloud condensation nuclei, which then form into rain. That's it. There you go. That's the theory in a nutshell that's been summed up over the last 2.5, 3 years worth of study by myself and dozens of others, proving that ionization is caused by high-frequency pulses. Now, Michio Kaku talking about a trillion-watt laser can do it in the laboratory. And we've seen real-life activity produced by 750,000-watt radar pulses coming from our NEXRAD stations. And I've documented that over and over again. You guys can come on over to my website and just go ahead and go down the list and go through all the different radar pulses that have happened. Chicago being the most recent example. Let's just go there really quick. Here's Romeoville, Chicago, where the NEXRAD radar station is, pulsing on September 15th. And here we are, 72 hours later, Romeoville, Chicago, under severe weather, hail, damaging winds, severe thunderstorms, only spot to get it. And then downtown Chicago got it, the flooding from that later that night. Only spot to have hail reported. Look at that. And this happened multiple days in a row. It's not just 1 or 2 times, it happened 3 or 4 times in a row. And here's a pulse that happened out of Munich, Germany. And Munich, Germany was followed up and hit within 48 hours, twice, each time. And we can just go down the list some more. You can go and look at the other radar pulses that have happened. Here's another event from Romeoville. And here's the storms that were produced from Romeoville the next day. Water spouts on Lake Michigan. Now, Michio Kaku brings up something at the end of that video that just is profound. He brings up wedding parties, sporting events, and use of weather modification for those events. Now imagine this, some really rich girl's getting married, her dad owns some corporation, and they want it to be nice outside. So they're going to go ahead and do weather mitigation. They're going to stop it from raining on that summer day. All because some girl wants to get married on a clear day. It's insane. And if you guys allow this, well, then you deserve to get the destroyed world that you've been denying for so long. I had to put up with this for almost 2.5 years of complete denial, complete Galileo effect, the Flat Earth Society. We're talking Copernicus and Galileo went through. We're talking about science establishment in denial, saying it couldn't be done, saying we were faking this somehow. They said we were faking these radar pulses that are appearing and the storms that are coming afterwards. 120 times I've documented it now. 120 different pulses, 120 different storms coming back and hitting those areas directly. And people were denying it. Now, what most people don't know is that across our country, we've got a series of ground-based heaters that you can see here in the East Coast, for instance. And that is the heating that's occurring from the ground-based stations, guys. We've got 2 per state. Each one is 750,000 watts, and they are producing, I mean, just look. Just look. You can see what happens. And the ionization begins because of the heating from the ground-based transmitter. It's a ground-based microwave at 750,000 watts. Your kitchen microwave is about 1,000 watts. So it's 750 times more powerful than your kitchen microwave, beaming up into the atmosphere. And they're placed everywhere where you see one of these plus marks or one of these circles. And that's just the NexRad facilities. We've got other radar systems. We've got other high-frequency systems that are also operating in that 2 gigahertz range, such as, let's say, your Wi-Fi router. Everyone's Wi-Fi router. Yes, it's less wattage, but cumulatively it's much more. So you wonder where the weird weather's coming from. It's coming from us. It's man-made, but it's not your can of hairspray. It's not your SUV. We're talking about a serious problem that began as far back as the 1920s and goes forward through microwave, high frequency, and everything up until today. And it's building into something that's becoming unmanageable. It really is. And they're going to try and roll out weather modification systems to deal with our own inadvertent modification. If you go talk to a meteorologist and tell them that their radars are causing weather, they all say, huh? They don't even understand the physics behind CCN creation using frequency. They don't even know that it can happen. Meanwhile, Michio Kaku and the rest of the cutting-edge scientists are doing the experiments. We've got a disconnect happening here, folks. Something needs to happen at this point. Somebody's got to say something. I've been going on too long, voice in the wilderness, kind of on my own with a few followers that are diehard followers. But overall, the general population is still in denial. Somebody's got to say something at some point. For a wedding, for a sporting event, for a concert, are you serious? No. No. How about for only in the case of a complete disaster? And even then. Sorry, folks, I take this real serious. We're talking lots of people died in these storms. We're talking hundreds of people dead as a result of frequency pulse storms. You remember 2011? The southern states? Philadelphia, down here, Philadelphia, Mississippi? I mean, little towns that were creamed, that we named days before. Small towns, big towns, big cities. Miami, Florida. Tampa, Florida, New Orleans, Chicago, St. Louis, places in the East Coast, Rhode Island, New York, places on the West Coast, Seattle, Portland, Midwest, Colorado. Guys, it's getting crazy. And now it's confirmed. What more can I say? There's not much more I can say other than what I'm telling you now. And this is straight from my heart. Please, folks, get the word out. Let everybody know that weather modification should only be done as a last resort in the case of emergencies only. And it should be done with full disclosure and public debate before any of it gets done. Even experiments